Hey, my name is Shelly, and welcome to a recent read wrap-up. So lately I've been struggling to find a format that works for me to talk about books that I've read recently. For me, personally, I find waiting till the end of the month is really bad because I have a bad memory. So things that I talk about that I read like literally a month before, I'm not going to have the best, review or for thoughts for it because I've literally pretty much, let's be honest, I probably forgot a lot of it. The weekly updates were really great because I was able to talk about books like fresh thoughts, but it was a lot of work doing it every week. And also I found it a little bit redundant having to do weekly reads and then a monthly wrap up. So I'm going to do away with the monthly updates for now and then try the recent reads and do it like maybe once every 2 or 3 weeks to see if that works. You know, kind of just basically throwing that spaghetti on the wall to see if it sticks. So I think a lot of people prefer the monthly wrap-up, so let's just meet right in the middle. Okay, so let's talk about what I've read in the last 3 weeks. 3 weeks, I think. Yeah, because it's almost the end of April, so my gosh, what is time? Let's talk about what I read in the last 3 weeks. So the first book that I read and finished in, April was a novella called Captured by Laurie Holmes. This is a novella in the Ancestor Saga series, which is kind of like a self-published prehistoric fantasy. It's a fantasy that is like dealing with like young humanity. So this book is actually a retelling of the second book, Daughter of Nimma, which I read in March, and it is from the male's perspective. And personally, I really don't like when authors do that. I understand why they do that. I really do. But for me, I would prefer if you just included that in the book as opposed to having to read it all over again. Although I appreciated the new perspective, at the same time, I knew what was going to happen. I kind of already anticipated what his story would be like. And so, you know, it just kind of didn't work for me. So I only ended up giving this one about 3 stars. But that's fine. I just had one of my kids' juice boxes because I was really thirsty and it hit the back of my throat and now I'm choking. Okay, choking done. So after I read Captive, I continued on to Enemy Tribe, which is the third book in the Ancestor Saga. And I really enjoyed a lot of this book. I did start tabbing. I'm not a tabber, but I've recently decided to start tabbing for my own memory, even though I probably will never look at the tabs, let's be completely honest. So this one is a 4-star, and I actually really enjoyed it. There were some things that I had a lot of issues with. I'm not going to get into the plot because obviously this is the third book, but there were some issues that I had with this, and mainly it was the writing style. And this is a self-published indie book, so obviously it doesn't have the advantage of being edited 15 times by professional editors, although there probably was a professional editor that did edit this. But again, like I said, traditionally published books, they get edited like 3-4 times. The thing that bothered me the most was probably the dialogue and the language that was used. It does take place in like prehistoric times, and if it was written in a weird way, I don't think it would be as digestible. And I know that for a fact because I have read a similar book which has similar settings, and that is The Tiger and the Wolf by Adrian Tarkovsky. And this, as the dialogue, is very strange. And I know that a bunch of people have tried this book and it just didn't work for them because it was written in such a weird way. So I kind of do understand, I do love this series, by the way. But I do understand why the author decided to kind of take it to like more of a modern kind of dialect. So the way that I see it is almost like it's a translation. That's how I'm justifying it. It was one of those things that I can just kind of ignore, but I know a lot of people do have problems with that. So yeah. The other issue is that there is this like writing technique that a lot of authors do where a character is about to spill the beans and tell somebody something very important, and all of a sudden they get interrupted and they never get a chance to do it until it's too late later on, you know? And that happened so much in this book. Like, it was unbelievable. I was just like, oh, it's gonna happen again. And it did. It happened like 4 or 5 times. Although the first 2 books were very small worlds, whereas this one you're kind of learning more about the world. You're expanding, you're meeting more cultures. You're getting more of a backstory about these people and their customs and their beliefs and the gods they believe in and the locations that they're in. So you're getting more of the world, and I absolutely love that. And there is like a creepy element. And then there is a hint later that there is the interfering God trope. And I'm doing the quotations lightly because I think I know what the gods are. If you're into conspiracy theories and like paranormal stuff, you'll probably know where I'm going with this. But yes, there is like the interfering gods. So I'm very curious to see where this goes. And honestly, this is such an easily digestible, bingeable book. Like, I could not put it down, and I read it far too late in the night to complete it. So I had a lot of fun, and I really wanted to pick up the fourth book, but I think I needed to take a break. So I'm planning to do that in May, which is in 2 weeks. Oh my gosh. Okay, so the next book that I finished is Blood Over Bright Haven by M.L. Wang. I just stabbed my neck. Ow. It was a buddy read on my Discord channel. We all had a lot of fun. I actually listened to the audiobook because my favorite audiobook narrator, Maury Quark, did the narration for this. So I couldn't resist. So I did listen to the audiobook. It was fantastic. So this book was, I would say, 4.5 to 5 stars. It was so well written, and the character was absolutely frustrating. I struggled with the main character in the beginning. She was so racist, conceited, egotistical. So even though she is a woman living in a very much man's world, she has come from high society basically and has had privilege. But in the same world, there are these other people, like this other culture that has basically been suppressed and are basically considered lower class beings, like lower intelligence, not smart, barbaric, terrible. It's just, the racism is just rampant in this book. This world was so cool, so elaborate. As you see in the picture here, their magic is kind of based over code almost. So they have these like magical typewriters that they put code into, and they can do all sorts of things, and they open up portals, and it's really complex, and I don't want to give too much away, but it's very interesting. So when I talked about this book, when I said I was going to read it, I said that the main character was going to a school, and I was half correct. She is in this like university for high mages, but she isn't a student. She is basically a researcher that is a part of these high mages that are kind of competing against each other to see who can have the best outcome. So that is like where she stands. So she's a very studious, very almost borderline neurodivergent kind of person. Because she is a woman, she has a lot of struggles and she has a lot of things that she has to deal with, and the sexism that she has to deal with. And because she was getting bullied, they gave her an assistant of one of the lower class people as like a punishment, but it actually in the end it kind of worked out in her favor. That's where we'll just leave it. I love so much about this book. I love the world building. I loved the characters. The main character was a really hard pill to swallow in the beginning, but I'm so glad that she actually developed through the book, and the ending was a fantastic ending. And honestly, I really do hope that the author decides to continue on in this world, even if it's a different standalone. I am so curious because the way that she did build this world, it almost seems like you're just getting a taste of it, because there was other mentions of different cultures and different lands and stuff like that. So I really am curious to see if she continues on. And I honestly hope she does, because I would love to see an expansion of this world. This won't be an all-time new favorite, but I really had a great time, and I'm so glad that I got to read this with my friends. Completely switching gears, the next book that I finished is Butcher and Blackbird by Brian Waver. I'm not sure if I said her name correctly. I should know stuff like that because it sounds like a very Irish name. Anyways, so this is I don't even know, what is this book? It's like a dark romance, horror, contemporary, and I had so much fun with this. I actually read this with my real life best friend. We buddy read this together, and it was just so much fun reading this with her, because honestly, it's just something we both really love. Dark, weird stories. This was a book that I think would work for so many people, but then I understand why it doesn't work for a lot of people. Basically, we're following two serial killers. So after they had their meet cute, they decided to participate in this competition to see who can kill the bad guys first. They're kind of like Dexter serial killers where they kill bad people, because I don't think that we could read a funny romantasy if they're killing nice, innocent people. So yeah, they kill bad people. So this competition takes place over a bunch of years, and it is hilarious. There's a lot of stuff that happens in these books, like accidental cannibalism, that is just, it's awesome. Check your trigger warnings. I believe that they're on the author's website, because there's a lot of them. I mean, I adored this. I thought it was such a fun time. I actually listened to the audiobook, and the audiobook was fantastic. So if you're an audiobook listener, I highly recommend it. The narrator that does the guy's voice, Butcher's voice, oh, he's dreamy. Like, seriously, dreamy. This book was a definite surprise, because it's not something I usually lean towards. I actually struggle with contemporary romance. I've tried in the past, but nothing has really worked for me. But this one worked so well for me. So I'm definitely going to continue on with the series. I think we're both going to continue on with the series. I already have the audiobook and it's ready to go. So probably maybe in May, we will see. But yeah, so much fun. Highly recommend it. If you like Dexter, if you like dark romance, if you like dark humor, I really do recommend it. And it is actually kind of silly at times. I think I picked it up at the right time and it just hits so well. So I'm so excited to continue on with the series. So now we're going to talk about the stuff that's not so great. And that is my DNFs. And I have two. Technically three, but I'm not going to talk about the third one very much. But the first one is The Raven Scolar by Antonia Hogson. This book is so shiny, so beautiful. I love anything with ravens and crows. But this book really didn't work for me. And I actually buddy read this with it was kind of a buddy read. It was a bunch of us reading at the same time on somebody else's Discord. And I think everybody who started it also DNF'd it. There was so much I loved about this book. So originally when I talked about this, when I said I was going to read this in my my April TBR, I said that this was a school setting. It is not a school setting. I was so wrong. It's about a scholar, obviously the name of the title, in a very weird, fantastical world that I honestly had a lot of trouble picturing. I thought that was so cool, and there was so much to the world that was very interesting. But like I said, I couldn't picture what it looked like. I didn't know if it looked like our world. And honestly, a lot of people in the Discord said the same thing. They had issues picturing the world. And it's not that it was badly written. It was just maybe because I gave up on it too quickly to fully understand it. Because I did DNF at chapter 10. When I'm reading a book, I usually push to page 100. And if I'm not enjoying it after that, then I decide to put it down. The world is so intricate and there's so much to learn about it. But then, I don't know if you can see this, orange is where I start to get annoyed. Orange is when I'm getting really annoyed with characters. That's what that is. And that was my main problem with this book. The beginning was so strong. I was like, yes, this is 5 stars, 100%. But then after the third chapter, there is a drastic switch and a drastic change, and I didn't like it. And the main character in this, I struggled with so hard. She was I wanted to love her. I really did. I wanted to love her. I was trying to give her the benefit of the doubt, but she was very much similar to Blood Over Bright Haven's character, where she was a very smart, studious person, but incredibly selfish, incredibly egotistical. It got to the point where she was either complaining about people, saying how awesome she was, and then feeling sorry for herself. And what happened in the beginning of the book, I really don't feel sorry for her. It actually made me hate her. So because of that, I really struggled to enjoy her characters. There is other POVs in this story, and I actually really did like the other POV, but majority of it is this main woman, the Raven Scholar, who I really just didn't care about. Most books I decide to DNF, I rarely say I will never freaking touch this again. Most of the time it's like I'm putting it down for now and maybe I'll pick it back up in the future. There has been the odd time where I'm like, I will never touch this book or this author ever again. But this is not the occasion. This is I may pick this up eventually. I may grab the audiobook actually. But yeah, as of right now, I am not planning to pick this up anytime soon. I think that this has a lot of potential, and I think that there are people who will enjoy it, because obviously I was recommended this by a friend who loved it, who said it was her favorite book of the year. So this does have an audience. And I think if you like intricate world building, unique worlds, complex characters, political plot, and what's the other thing? Oh, and a competition setting. I think you'll really enjoy this. I will keep the book because honestly, it is gorgeous and shiny, and I love shiny purple books. So bummed, so bummed. The other DNF that I have is not really a DNF. I'm just kind of putting it on a pause. I'm not going to mention the book that I'm talking about because it's a self-published book, and I try not to talk negatively about self-published books. And there is actually nothing negative to say about this book. It is actually probably one of the most amazingly written books that I have read in a really long time. But it really reminded me of the Greenbone saga. And it's like, although I really appreciate that book and that writing style, it's just not something that I'm really drawn towards. I appreciate this, but it's not something that I like to read. So I'm going to pick it up again later on when I'm feeling a little bit more of the mood. But yeah, like I said, it is amazingly written. But if you are curious to what this book is, comment down below and I will respond in the comments or ask me on Discord. And then the next book that I am doing another soft DNF is The Road of Bones by Demi Winters. So I picked this up for two reasons. Well, three actually. One, Demi Winters is a Canadian author, so I always like to read as many Canadian authors as I can. Two, the freaking cover. Oh my god, my lights won't show you. I will probably have to put it up here. It is so beautiful. The more you look at the cover, the more you see. And the third is that this is Viking inspired, and I love Viking inspired stories. I heard about this book when I was in my romantasy era, and I think that is the problem because I heard from people who read romantasy, they're like, it's not like romantasy. It's kind of like if you like fantasy, you'll like this. So I was under the assumption that that is the case, which it is not. And I wouldn't say that it's romantasy, because what is romantasy? There is a difference between romantic fantasy, which is something like City of Brass. City of Brass is a romantic fantasy. It is not a romantasy. So I was hoping that this would be more like City of Brass because I love this series so much. It's one of my favorites. And it is not. And I'm not saying that it's bad. It's not a bad book. It's actually quite enjoyable. But it wasn't what I was wanting at the time. And as I am a mood reader, you know, I'll taste something out. It's like going to the clothing store and trying on a bunch of clothes and seeing what fits for you in the moment or what you're liking at the moment. And at the moment, this is not fitting me. It's not fitting what I want to read. I really did like a lot of this book. And I think when I get back into romantasy again, because it's going to happen again, I have a stockpile of books waiting for me that I have kind of started. I'm like, you know what? I like this, but right now is not the time. So I think I will pick this up again. But honestly, if you read romantasy and if you're looking for something that's a little bit different from the norm, because so far in this book, there are no fae. It's kind of almost like Red Riding Hood, where you're following a main character. She's on a mission, and she's wearing, obviously, a red cape, and there are wolves. I think it's loosely inspired by that, but in a Viking fantasy world, which is really cool. I really like the world. There was one thing that kind of made me say, you know what, now's not the time for this, is because they kept doing flashbacks midway through chapters, and I really don't like that. Personally, it's just a personal thing. I think if you're going to do flashbacks, to have separate chapters for that instead of inserting it midway through chapters. That's just a personal preference. That was kind of the deciding factor for me to put this down. It is a really fun book. I really enjoyed a lot of it. The main character is kind of like a typical romantic kind of character, but I do see room for her to grow. And there are some other characters that are very interesting as well in this. So I will pick this up back again one day, but right now I'm going to put it aside for a rainy day when I'm feeling a romantasy. And honestly, this will probably be the first thing I pick up because I love my Viking stories. So since I pretty much DNF'd my audiobook and my physical book, I need a new book to read. I'm still reading Dead House Gates by Stephen Erickson, but this is a slow read and I am not even halfway through it. So I will update that when I finish it. So in the meantime, I've kind of decided to just go with my gut and what I'm feeling, and I'm allowing myself to pick anything I want as long as I own it, or I can get a free copy of it through the library or through Audible book. I'm going to be listening to The Black Tongue Thief by Christopher Buehlman. I feel like I said that wrong. I was going to pick up the next Dungeon Crawler Carl audiobook, but I feel like I need to read this because I've had it on my shelf for probably about 5 years now. Actually, I don't even know. When did this come out? I've had this since 2001. So I really need to read it because honestly, it's been too long. So I'm trying to prioritize books that I've had for a really long time. So I'm picking this up. Also, I adore this cover. I don't know. There's something about black and white and yellow that I love. So this is going to be my next audiobook. So wish me luck that it's not another DNF. And for physical books, like I said before, I'm giving myself space to read what I want as long as I own it. And this is really going to be weird, but last night I had a really cool sci-fi dream. And because of that, I'm like, I want to read a sci-fi romance. I actually have 2 that I could read from. The first one is The Bound Worlds by Megan O'Keefe. This is the 3rd book in the Devouring Worlds trilogy. I hated book 2, but I loved book 1. So I'm hoping that this book kind of brings us back to book 1. I did hear that it is much better than book 2, and people who didn't like book 2 love this one. So this is a possible. I'm going to read a chapter of this to see if it works, and if it doesn't work, I have Grim Space by Anne Geary, and I've actually owned this book for quite a while as well. From what I know, this is kind of like a urban fantasy kind of style, but in space. What I fear that this will be kind of like more like a Mercy Thompson. I do like my urban fantasies, but Mercy Thompson is not my favorite. And the reason why I say that is because she is a mechanic in space. So I have these 2 options to read physically. And yeah, I hope in the next 2 weeks that I will come back with a positive review, at least for one of these. So wish me luck. We made it all the way to the end of the video. If you feel like commenting, but you don't have anything to say, just let me know that you're here. You can leave a moon emoji. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a lovely day. Bye!